Hey, what's up guys, it's Disturbed, and today I'm going to be showing you guys an absolutely amazing solo PvE build that will allow you to have your ultimate up pretty much 100% of the time, specifically the tactical ultimate, allowing you to finish content insanely fast. Like, you're just going to be able to melt through NPCs and have absolutely no problem doing content such as Lexington Event Center, HVTs, Underground, whatever it is that you're farming. So you can just end up getting all the gear that you need without having to rely on teammates or anything like that. So without further ado, let's get right into the build. Alright, so starting off with the build, before I get into anything, please don't listen to the DPS stat or the toughness or the skill power or anything. Don't pay attention to the sheet stats right now because that's not what matters at all. This build is all about keeping your ultimate up 100% of the time, and there is a bunch of different ways that you can set this up and have it work effectively, so I'm going to be going over that. So I'd highly recommend that you watch a lot of the video just so you don't end up losing out on a lot of information, and you know that there's multiple ways to set it up, so you don't just see my stats and like, oh, I can't do that, and then immediately click off or something and think that you can't do it. No, there's multiple different ways that you can pair it together, so I'm going to be going over that. So first off, what the build mainly consists of is 4 Alpha Bridge. You have to have 4 Alpha Bridge. If you don't have this, then you can't do the build. The reason you need 4 Alpha Bridge is for talents, which I'll get into in a minute here, but these talents are what allow you to have, or gun talents is what allow you to have your ultimate up 100% of the time. You can do this with another build, but the fact of the matter is that Alpha Bridge will let you will let you do it without sacrificing a huge amount of damage, so you're still going to be able to melt NPCs while having these talents, while with another gun you'd have to get one single gun that would have all the 3 perfect talents for this. And then you'd probably be losing out on a lot of gun talents that would give you high damage, and then the gear set bonuses that you would be benefiting from as instead of Alpha Bridge just would not be worth it. So Alpha Bridge is definitely going to be the way to go here. And also the 5% extra damage and the health regen isn't a bad bonus there either. And then to mix with this, I have 2 pieces of Nomad. The reason I did this is because with the ultimate up 100% of the time, you really need to rush around. You kind of have to play like Rambo, because paired with one of the talents on the guns, commanding, every kill you get extends your ultimate. So if you're not constantly getting kills, your ultimate has a chance of falling off. Though you do have skilled and you will probably get your ult back extremely fast, there is a debuff period where you can't pop it immediately afterwards, and I mean, it's good to have it up 100% of the time with commanding being activated. And if you're trying to face tank without Nomad and you don't have a lot of toughness, like as you can see, I only have around 350k toughness, which I'll explain later. Since I have so low toughness, I get melted, so having Nomad will allow me to keep at full health, especially with using my heal, because I'm going to be melting NPCs so quickly so that I can keep up my ult all the time. And then with Nomad, I'm just refilling health every single time I kill somebody. So Nomad is what made this build possible for me. There is a bunch of different ways that you can do it. One thing that you can do is, instead of 2 pieces of Nomad, you can use like accomplished knee pads. This will make it to where when you're running Underground or Lexington or whatever it is, you get field proficiency caches and even Underground caches much more frequently. Though when I was using this, again, I was having problems with my toughness, and I didn't want to sacrifice a lot of firearms. At least I couldn't with the current build that I had, so I just decided to go for the Nomad for the extra health, just because I thought it was a little bit stressful always worrying about my health. But with Nomad, I don't even have to worry about it. I can just play and just enjoy myself, which is a really big thing for me, because I'm actually going to be using this build really frequently. So that's a huge thing for me, just to not have any stress worrying about my health and possibly dying and stuff. So that's why I don't go for the accomplished knee pads. And then if you were to use accomplished knee pads, you could pair that with a bunch of things as well. You could pair it with a reckless chest for extra damage, or Baird's bulletproof vest, and then when your 2 skills are on cooldown, it increases your armor. I was using this with accomplished knee pads for a while, and then just making sure my 2 skills are on cooldown for the extra armor up like 100% of the time, but that still wasn't enough for me. It wasn't giving me enough toughness, even though I was getting a lot of extra armor. I think the Nomad is still way better. You could also go with Savage Gloves, like I said, Reckless Chest as well, maybe even a Specialized Backpack if you want your heal to be better. Really just depends, but if I'm being perfectly honest, for most people I would highly recommend using Nomad, just so that you can keep yourself at really high health. I mean, even with talents like Predatory and Self-Preserved and stuff, you're still losing out on a lot of health if you're not speccing into at least over 400k toughness, so that's where Nomad is really great. Now, in terms of my firearms, my toughness, and my skill power, the reason it looks all fucked up like this is because I have to spec one piece into electronics, which is really easy for me to do. Just got an Alpha Bridge backpack. It natively rolled armor, actually, but this is the shittier roll. My other one is better, so I use this one for PvP, but this one rolled armor, so I just rolled electronics on it. Now, the reason that you need to do this is because I don't think you have to, because you can actually just get commanding in 3rd slot and skilled in the 3rd slot. But for me, I just got unlucky, and I mean, the electronics, actually having this much electronics is not a bad thing at all, because as you can see right here, my cooldown is really low on this, 689 seconds. But the way that skilled works is that it scales off of your electronics. So if you have really high electronics, skilled will make it to where you get your ult back even faster, so that it's much closer to 100% uptime. The skill power also allows you to heal for more, but if you were to get the perfect setup with your gun talents, then you could make it to where you didn't have to go for all this electronics. And if you think that you're killing guys fast enough to where you don't need skill to be scaling off that electronics and you're getting your ult fast enough, then you could decide to spec into more stamina or for more firearms. But for me, this is what's working, and I didn't have the guns to make it otherwise, so just know that you can make it differently than I can, or that I did. The way that you can do it is you can get commanding in the third slot, because that requires 38 electronics, and then you can get skilled in the third slot. But like I said, I went for more electronics just so that my ult scales better. And Meticulous, it does require electronics, but you'd only need to put like one electronics mod in to activate it. Same thing with Predatory. The reason I go with, let's just go into actually, that's pretty much it for this stamina, toughness, and skill power. Let's actually delve into the talents and how they work individually. So Predatory, I'm using this because I'm constantly killing NPCs, and even with Nomad, I still am losing health. So Predatory just helps me keep at full health. If there was any talent to switch, you could probably switch this one to something like Ferocious or something if you want to get that in a third slot, or if you're stacking a lot of electronics. You can get Ferocious, you can get Deadly, you can get Competent. Just depends on what you want. I just like the Predatory because it keeps me tanky, and I wasn't able to roll it off anyways. Another talent that I went for is Brutal. This is just damage. Again, you could switch out Brutal for another damage talent if you want, not that big a deal. Meticulous is something that you're going to need though. Meticulous will make it to where, as you can see in the gameplay at the very end of the video, I never have to reload with my LMG, and that's why I'm using an LMG, which I'll get into in a minute here. But with my LMG and Meticulous, I literally never have to reload because my LMG has over 200 bullets. So since I have my ult up 100% of the time, I don't want to have to reload in the middle of an ult. So Meticulous will make it to where I literally never have to reload, unless I get really lucky and RNGesus is just being a dick and I kill like 8 NPCs and I don't get the reload, but usually I will. And then Commanding will make it to where every time I kill somebody, it extends my ultimate duration, so that I basically have my ult up for a huge period of time. You'll see in the beginning of the gameplay, I open up in Lexington, and in that first room, I keep my ult up the entire time, so that's great. Destructive, just flat out damage. Skilled, this will make it to where you have your ult up pretty much 100% of the time. If there were any two talents I would say you need, would be Skilled and Commanding, and then Meticulous would probably be third to that. Now, a lot of you might be wondering why I'm using LMGs. Usually, I'm mainly using it because of the mag size and the way that it pairs with Meticulous, just so I never have to reload. But if you don't have any good LMGs, the only other gun that I would suggest using, definitely not an SMG, but you could decide to use an AK, and then put Swift on the AK, because the AK has really high base damage. I would not recommend doing it with an LVOA, because the LVOA you're going to have to reload a lot, but the AK has really low RPM, a pretty decent mag, and if you put Swift on it, and maybe a reload speed grip, it reloads like instantly, and it has really high base damage as well, so an AK wouldn't be that bad of an idea. Possibly a G36, though the RPM on that is a little bit high. I would not go for a Meticulous though if you're going to use an assault rifle, because it's just not that high of a chance, and it's just better to go for Swift just to know that you're going to have to reload, and then just spec into reload speed, because with your ult you do reload faster. Pair that with Swift and a reload speed grip, you're going to reload like immediately. But for LMGs, for me, I like to use LMGs more. In terms of what LMG you want to use, I would recommend either a Hungry Hog, possibly a Pecan. The only problem with the Pecan though, or any RPK, is that the mag size is going to be 100, so there are going to be times where you have to reload, which could end up sucking and maybe resulting in you losing your ult. So that's why I think it's more safe to go with like an M60 or a Hungry Hog, or even an MK46. Just depends on what you have available to you. But the Hungry Hog has a built-in extra base damage, so that's why I decided to go for that. And I also had a really good Hungry Hog available to me. But a Pecan is great as well, has really high base damage. It's just like I said before, without the mag size, it's hard to keep Meticulous up all the time. An M249 is okay if that's what you have. The base damage on it isn't fantastic, but it is what it is. I mean, it still has 100 mag size, and that's pretty much all that matters. And then the RPM is decent, and then you can also get an MK46 like I mentioned before. So that's why you want LMGs. In terms of modding them, pretty standard stuff here, just going for headshot damage everywhere, and then crit damage because that's all you can get, and then rate of fire and crit chance here. The reason I'm going for headshot damage, I mean, it should be simple. I would be going for this anyways, but with this build, you're going to be landing 100% headshots pretty much, because you're using skilled and you rely on headshot kills to get your ult back faster. And I mean, headshots natively do extra damage anyways, so that's why I'm going to be doing that. So hopefully that makes sense. Just pairing all these talents together, mainly Commanding, Skilled, and Meticulous, it'll just make it to where you're constantly having your ult up while you're killing NPCs. While your ult is up, you're extending your ult, and at the same time regenning your ult, so by the time that it's down, you have it again. And with Meticulous, you never have to reload, so then you can just keep proccing Commanding, and then you just have your ult over and over. And it's like a snowball effect. It's like just constant chaining of your ults, which is just fantastic. It makes me, I believe I ran Lexington in 7 minutes and 55 seconds, which is a gameplay that I'll have at the end here. One of my friends did 3-phase underground with this build in under 15 minutes or something like that on heroic mode. Just absolutely insane. Personally, I didn't do underground, so I don't know how fast I could personally do it. I actually hate the underground, and I'm also low level there, so I wouldn't know how effective that would be, but I could see this build being amazing in HVTs, Lexington specifically if you're trying to get that Barrett chest piece or maybe a showstopper. Kappa Kappa, I have both. I have 2 Barrett chest pieces. So many of you are going to hate me. I have 2 Barrett chest pieces and a showstopper, so yeah, I've been farming Lexington a good amount, but great for all these farms, especially if you're going to be doing it solo, just so that you can, you know, get as much loot as possible. But now I'm going to stop going on rants about random stuff. Let's just go more into the build in terms of specific roles. On your chest piece, I would recommend going for armor and damage to elites. Damage to elites is just extra damage. You can also get protection from elites if you're worried about taking damage, but damage to elites just makes me do more damage. Also, try to get increased kill XP. This will make it to where if you're farming constantly, then you are getting more XP per kill, and then that goes towards your field proficiency caches, and getting those caches is awesome. Just gives you a lot of extra gear and Phoenix credits as well, so that's just a nice added bonus. On the mask, same thing pretty much, as damage to elites and enemy armor damage, just getting as much damage as possible. On the knee pads as well, enemy armor damage, and then you could go for increased kill XP here as well. Mine don't have them, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is. Hopefully I'll get some new knee pads of the Nomad in the future, or maybe a different Nomad piece, and then I could use my Alpha knee pads and get the extra kill XP, just for the extra field proficiency caches. Then on the backpack, you can go for armor, and then you can decide to go for at least just one piece of electronics, and then you can go for like 1 or 2 electronics mods, just depending. I like to have around 120k skill power, though I don't think you absolutely need this much electronics, but when farming Lexington with skilled on, I never run out of my ult, and I'm happy with the way that it is. I don't think I'm not tanky. I don't think I get shredded instantly, and I do a good amount of damage, so I'm happy with the way that the build is. I'm sure it could be min-max better. It's just that this build is really hard to put together with the right gun talents and everything, so I just kind of have to settle with what I have, but I'm sure it would be fantastic speccing into more firearms and losing some skill power, though I don't know how fast you would get your ult back and how effective that would be, but I'm still sure it would be just as amazing and possibly even better, though I just not sure how much you'd have your ult up, but I could definitely see it being worth it. So if you have it to where you have skilled in the 3rd slot and commanding in the 3rd slot, then you wouldn't need to use a piece of electronics. You'd probably just have to go with 1 electronics mod so that you could unlock meticulous and predatory, but if you're not like, if you're like me and you can't get the perfect roll for that, then I would just go for electronics on 1 piece of gear. Moving into gloves, you want damage to elites, LMG damage, and crit chance. You can either go for crit damage or crit chance. It really depends. I like to go for crit chance, but that's just the roll that I had there, so it is what it is. Damage to elites, just more damage, and that'll give you way more damage than crit chance, or I mean crit damage ever would. Holster, pretty standard stuff there. Armor. And then in terms of my mod, just so if you're curious, I got like 1 firearms mod. That's just there so that I can unlock brutal. Otherwise, I wouldn't really put that there. And then I got the 2 electronics mod just to keep my skill power about 126k. And then I got a few stamina mods in there. And then my armor, I'm pretty sure, is rather shit with this build. Not 100% actually. I think it might be decent. Okay, never mind. It's 53%. You want to go for around 53 to 55%. That's a pretty golden spot there. In terms of your skills, I like to use booster shot with this build because since I have so high skill power, it's healing me for a good amount. And I'm not really worried about the overshield, and the damage resistance is great along with doing extra damage. And since I'm in NPC's face and I'm worried about just killing them as fast as possible, I usually just heal while aiming down sight while killing people, and I get that extra damage resistance and damage so it doesn't go to waste and I use it immediately. Overdose again would be great if you're worried about, if you're not speccing into high skill power and you are just taking a lot of damage, but I like to use booster shot for the, again, the damage resistance and the extra damage. And then I use a pulse. You could use a CC skill, but the thing about pulse is that it tells me where all the NPCs are, and if I don't know where all of them are and I'm like on a goose chase trying to find them, then in that period of time while trying to find them, my ult could run off and I need to kill them to proc my commanding. So that's why I have pulse up, just so I know where all the NPCs are at all times. Could use something else if you're not running into that issue, if you're doing something like HVTs where you see all the NPCs, but in Lexington where guys can hide behind doors or in the underground, using pulse is great. And then in terms of my talents on the move, just for the more damage resistance, I think this is a must. Precision, always pulsing them if my pulse isn't up. If there was any talent to get rid of, I would say it's precision, though I don't think there's any talent even worth giving up. you could maybe go stopping power or something, but I don't think it's worth it. You can go for 1 is none. This is an absolute must since you're only landing headshots, and you want to make sure that you will have meticulous proc. This will get your bullets right back in your mag, so you're not having to reload, and it will ensure that meticulous will proc 99% of the time. And then critical save just for the extra damage resistance. You can also go for strike back, though I think it's pretty shitty, or tactical advance just for the extra damage if you actually remember to use it. I have a tendency to not remember. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the build. Just make sure you get those gun talents and make sure that you have a decent amount of toughness so that when you're running this, you don't get immediately shredded. But I mean, it took me a while to get this build working, but because I had to tweak a bunch of stuff and I tested a bunch of different stuff, but the way that I have it set up now works awesome. So if you try to replicate the exact way I have it set up, you'll do fantastic. And I'm going to put some gameplay right here, just me doing Lexington in 7 minutes and 55 seconds. I'm not a speedrunner or anything. That was just the first run that I did where I was going super tryhard, just trying to get good gameplay. If I were to like run it 50 times or something, I could probably get that number down to like 730, 720, maybe even lower than that, but it is what it is. I think it's a pretty good run, and I mean the fact that I can complete it in 7 minutes by myself, if I was trying to farm for Barrett's chest or just guns even, that's still an amazing farm, because like a lot of people would use this that don't have anybody to play with. So just an amazing build all around, and I mean it's just cool to make a video on anyways, because 100% ult uptime is just crazy, and it might end up getting nerfed in the future. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the build. If you guys did enjoy, please make sure to subscribe and drop a like, and enjoy solo farming, guys. Have a good one. I'll see you guys later. Enjoy the gameplay. Peace.